Welcome. Welcome to the OM System YouTube channel. How exciting. What a busy week we've had since we have launched all of these incredible products. We've got lots of people to come along on our live streams. Maybe you've been watching them in all the local languages. Maybe you're looking to join some of our first look Zoom classes, which will be available soon. Maybe you're not an OM system user and you're thinking, what is this camera all about? We've had some fantastic people, showing the camera off, some lovely stories. But I have an amazing guest for you tonight. Someone who we absolutely adore, who's the king of street photography, and hoping to get some amazing tips and hints and, stories about how we can get better street photographs. Just a few things. If you want to say hello, please put your name in the comments, because I can see how many people are viewing, but I can't see who. So if you want to say hello, please do. If you want to ask Jimmy a question, or maybe you want to ask a question about me or about OM System, we can do that. It's going to be an exciting show. So without further ado, I would love to introduce you to our wonderful OM System ambassador, Jimmy Cheng.
Hello. Oh, my hand disappeared. There you go.
That was a bit weird.
I know. Hey, it looks a little bit weird.
Hey, how are you?
I'm very well. And you?
Really good, thank you. Yes, amazing. It's been a crazy week. Have you had lots of people asking? Snap.
Yes. There we go. There we go.
What's your one wearing on the front there?
I've got the original 1718.
Oh, in silver as well.
Yeah, looks great on the camera.
I've been using the black one with the hood because it looks super awesome. And
yes,
I've got my original strap from about 10 years ago, and I absolutely love it. The more I use the camera, the more I'm falling in love with it. It's so nice to sort of slow down. I know you guys have heard me say this in the last week that, with wildlife, sometimes it can be a bit shoot, and then there's nothing for a while, and shoot. With the OM-3, you're able just to sort of take a little bit more time, you can pace yourself, you can feel the vibe. Tell me, I mean, as soon as you saw the camera or picked the camera up, what were your first impressions, Jimmy?
I thought it was a film camera. And because I have my original film OM1 and OM3 camera in the house. So when I first saw it, I thought, oh, is that like a film camera that you're bringing out? But when close inspection, obviously is slightly different. You got a digital dial instead of the shutter speed dial in the front, and but it felt exactly the same. It felt very familiar to me. Because I still shoot film, for those who don't know, and I still shoot film occasionally for my street and documentary stuff. So holding the OM3 in the hand, it gave me the familiarity, of the film camera that I used to have.
Yeah.
And so it felt good. It felt at home straight away.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Anthony's given us the first question. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. We will try to get through as many as we can in the hour. Obviously, we want to have a look at some fabulous images along the way, but we will try and pull out the relevant questions. Anything else we do go in afterwards, it may not be the next day, but a couple of days over the sort of a few weeks, we'll go in, myself and Jimmy, and we'll answer any questions that maybe we didn't get through in the show tonight. But Anthony, I saw this question. I thought I've got to ask you this. Hi from Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada. Jimmy, is this the camera that you have been waiting for from OM System for street and travel photography?
Absolutely, I think so. yes, and I've been waiting for something like this for a while. Perhaps, I mean, ever since the original Pen F. And it's quite hard to answer this question because all the OM system cameras have been great. I love the EM5, then subsequently the OM5, and the OM1 is it's just a beast to shoot with. But sometimes street photography isn't just about the functionality of the cameras or the form factor of the cameras, but also about how much you can actually engage as the photographer when you hold it in your hand.
Right.
And something that kind of ignites you, ignites your creativity, that kind
Right.
of you out to do something. And Pen F was that camera. And then and ever since, like because I shoot professionally as well, so this is not something that I would say that I mean, I don't have any motivation to do something. And but the OM-3 does give me the urge. Every time I pick it up, I just naturally just wanted to go out and take a few snaps. Where they're just going to be walking down a few steps and from the house and just go around the garden, or when I'm out and about, just whenever I see something, just quickly pick it up from my bag and just have a few snaps again.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you do weddings, you do engagement shoots, you do portrait shoots,
Yeah.
all of which the information I will put up in some little ticker tape. But when it comes to street photography, is this more for yourself? Is this more where you can create your own vision and you can have a little bit more of a sort of a divulgence, a bit more of an experimentation? Because when you're doing portraits and that, there is a certain, you need to get the bride sharp, you need to get certain things sharp or whatever. But with street, you can be a little bit more abstract and a little bit more out there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. When you're doing anything commercial, you basically have to take boxes. And
Right.
Occasionally the client would like to see some creativity from you, but we discussed that beforehand.
Right.
And but yeah, like you said, it's very different to shooting for myself. So street photography is really kind of my creative windows, where I can actually go and start exploring different type of style, and whether it's going to be color or black and white, whether it's going to be slow motions, or simply, like you said, abstract, something like that. So that is all very interesting to me.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right about that difference between the commercial shooting and doing it for love or passion, or because I know the two are sort of inextricably linked, but I think there's nothing nicer than shooting for yourself. I know that's quite a selfish thing to say, but and obviously we all love doing that commercial stuff, but actually shooting for yourself, it's a different way of thinking, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very different thinking. And also I think street photography is also about the spontaneous elements of it as well. And you can be standing in a place for hours with nothing happening, and then all of a sudden the lights shine into the subject right in front of you, and it just caught your eyes, and you just really wanted to capture that. And something like this, it doesn't happen often in commercial photography. In commercial photography, everything is set up already for you, and you
Yeah.
just go and
Yeah.
do it. And so I mean, this one element I like about street photography is the this spontaneous moments, and also how a photographer adapt to changing environments, and to make
Thinking on
use
their
of
feet.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and make use of those elements and create images. So I think for me that is a challenge, and then that challenge really kind of makes me happy if I do capture something nice.
I love that. So before we start having a look at some of Jimmy's images, um, we're going to have a quick few hellos. The first thing is
Yep.
there's always a poll running in the background. If you could just answer whether you are an OM system user or not, that would be amazing. And that poll runs right the way through the show. Just a quick few hellos. Maybe we know some people. We have Graham Ainge from a chilly Chelsea. We have Saul from Ontario in Canada, Grant also from Toronto, Charlie from Michigan. We are worldwide. Lots of from the north there. Deborah, hello, Deborah, from a cold and snowy Nebraska. Oh, that sounds nice. We were just talking about the fact that it was 6 degrees and thinking that was chilly, weren't we, Jimmy?
I know. I'm feeling cold here.
It's really cold. Can you imagine? South Florida, we have John in and Neil Book and Grant. Hello, Neil. Long time no see from Cheltenham. So we have Kentucky and Evergreen, and I mean, lots of people in, which is wonderful. And thank you so much for joining us. We do love you. We're going to have a look at a couple of images, I think,
Yep.
before we go back into the questions. Let's get everybody's thought processes sort of getting involved. So yeah, we've got lots and lots and lots of things going on. I will star a few, and then we can go back to those in a little while. Stephen Hewitt says, evening all, have you sold out yet? I love that. So without further ado, I'm going to add our first image. Now, tell us about this image. I mean, and we'll talk a little bit more about your approach to photography or street and any tips you've got. But tell me
Yeah, I
about
mean,
this image.
sure. I mean, this set that you're gonna see now is basically a selection. It's not the full set. It's a selection of the photographs that I took last week when I was on my way to Japan.
Nice.
So this first image is just basically the beginning of the journey. Actually, that very morning before I boarded the plane. And for me, it's always nice to create a photo because it's kind of like the beginning, and I always like the photograph at the end as well, just to kind of like bring a closure for a chapter. And so this particular one is it's just me looking out through the window and see the plane that I'm going to be boarding in. If you can see the JAL, the Japan airline plane, just right in the middle
Yes.
there. And it's just something that for me to remember, because what I would like to say to all photographers is that, you know, it's not just about one or two images. I always like to see a series of images, and when I have a series of images, I always like to assemble it in a way like a book. So you have a beginning, and you have a climax, and you have the end. So for me, this will be the beginning shot. You know, you got something that kind of remind me where I was, you know, before I fly to my destination.
I absolutely love it. And it's that start, isn't it? At the start of a journey that, you
Yep.
know, you can never get your camera out soon enough, right? When you're documenting a start and a finish, it's right, let's go. Let's get the camera out and let's start. Oh, why is that not working? Hang on. Apologies, guys. Let me just Hey, sorry, I thought my buttons weren't working. Okay, tell us about this one.
Right. Okay. This was actually a trial, and because I was, and all these images that you see now was captured with the OM-3, and everything is actually JPEG images. There was no edit. It's using all the brand new creative dial on the camera. So I set it to my personal black and white profile to shot all this stuff. Actually, not just black and white. There was also some colors as well, which you'll see later on. So this was just basically testing the contrast level that I wanted to see, and for my subsequent shots later in the journey. So it turned out to be actually quite presentable, because what I wanted to see is to for those who shoot film, I wanted to create something a little bit like a Triax, Kodak Triax look. So very high
Yes.
contrast, very deep black. And so this image, or this particular setting that I did, gave me that look. So this is the setting that basically stuck for the entire journey after that.
I absolutely love it. We've got lots of questions coming in. I'm just keeping my eyes on the board. We'll go for a few more images first. Can I ask, was this shot with the 17, the 25? What's your
This is
lens
the
of choice?
17, yeah.
And is that your lens that you would grab if you were doing street? Is that your first choice? I'm sure you've got a pocket full of lenses, right? Because they're so small and light. But is this your first choice when you do street photography, the 17?
Yes. I tend to use for street stuff, I tend to use between 12 or the 17. So in full frame is 24 or the 35 kind of range that I use.
Right.
I like it to be quite wide, because if I can capture a lot of the environment into the frame, and if I want to get close to my subject and get really close and get some really impactful composition from it. So I prefer to go straight into the subject if I really want to. That's why I like wide angle more than the tighter 25. The 25, I did use it for some portraits, so street portraits, which you can also see later. And you know, because for portrait it's slightly different to normal street moment shots.
Yeah, and I think it's that thing, isn't it? The 17 just gives you, it's 34 mil in 35 mil sensor terms, but actually I quite like that slightly wider look. And the 25 is more how the human eye sees. If you're not looking up, looking down, looking around, it's that sort of straight angle. So I think a 17 is quite a nice start to street photography. It just gives you that little bit more width, top, bottom, whichever way you're obviously holding the camera. So yeah, I think that's absolutely lovely. I love it. And you're using the color, using the black and white profiling. And
Yep.
how did you find using the profiles? Was it easy to use? Do you
Oh yeah, it's so easy. You know, once you selected the black and white profile on the dial, and then a couple of prompts come up from the screen, you can basically adjust you know, all the different channels, color channels, and then the S curve. We can adjust all the contrast level, the highlight level, the vignette. You can do all sorts of stuff to create your look. And once you've done it, it's stored in the profile, so you don't have to worry about losing it or readjusting it again. And with the custom mode, you can actually create quite a number of different black and white profile if you want. And but to me, you know, I usually just go with one or two looks anyway. So like for me, I don't need to store it in the custom mode. So just in the basic black and white profile is already good enough for me.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, we'll do a couple of more images and then we'll take some questions. Okay, talk to
Yeah.
me about this one.
Wow, this is a very famous location for in Shinjuku. Lots of people take photos here, but I opted for a black and white look, and just kind of gave me the old 70 vibes to the whole thing. And I got it quite early, as you can see, it's quite empty that day. And so I just wanted to get some a vintage vibe into this particular set of photos. Just because if I do it too late in the day when there's too many people, it's starting to look touristy. And then if I do it in color, it will lose that kind of look as well. So like, I'm quite specific for this few photos that I took here. I just wanted to recreate something that is timeless, and also something that reminds me of Japan as how it was in the 60s and 70s. And I think I managed to capture that with this particular black and white profile.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Okay, let's see what people are asking. I've starred many questions. We're probably not going to get through them all. But I do love this question from Digibirder. Question for Jimmy. What is your favorite spot on the creative dial? That's interesting. Do you go more for the black and white? Do you go for normal color or color creator? It's difficult, isn't it, that question?
It is very difficult, and for me personally, I'm a black and white guy. You can actually see that, you know, like I think a majority of these photos that you see here are black and white. There are some colors. So yeah, the my favorite spot would be the black and white, which is the mono setting right here.
Yeah.
But because it's right here, I mean, it's so easy to change it. So if I really want, if I take one shot in black and white and I look at it, I didn't quite like it, and I'll quickly just switch it basically to color, just a little switch, and I can do the same shot again in color. So it's actually quite easy. But mind you, though, you know, the obviously the creative dart affects only JPEG images, so you're still gonna have the raw file in the back anyway. So if you want to further process it or process in color, you know, you can do that afterward.
Yeah, it's about having options, isn't it? You know, you've got all those
Yep.
options. I think the thing I love about it is you can, yes, absolutely, sort of post process that raw, but being able to shoot like this gives you that vision, doesn't it? It gives you that, how do I want this to look? Is it something, is this how I want this look to be, sort of thing?
Yeah, but not just that. I mean, I think for me, the especially in black and white, and the JPEG images is actually already good enough for me, and I don't need to further process it. I mean, from what I can see, the file. I mean, this is obviously you're watching from YouTube at the moment, but if you're looking in the screen, you can actually see the grain that I apply to it, and it does make it look like a film photos, which I really
Totally.
like.
Yeah, totally. So a couple of questions. This one's for me. It says, is the OM-3 the new OM flagship camera? Basically, Mike, the OM-3 sits between the OM-5 and the OM-1 Mark II. So it's in addition to the lineup, an expansion of the lineup. It's not overtaking anything that's already there in the lineup. It's just another brother or sister, however you want to say, but it's an addition to. So it's very exciting for us to be able to talk about this sort of style of photography. And yes, very excited. Lovely question or lovely statement from Jim. Palm Desert, California, checking in. Welcome back, Jimmy Cheng. How nice.
Yay!
Hey, it's so nice, isn't it? I absolutely love that. Okay, right. Couple of things. We have a few more bits. It says pre-ordered the OM-3 and can't wait for the creative possibilities. Us either. We're very, very excited. And of course, we've got Camera Journey Mick. And hello, Mick. He's in and he's saying hello, Claire and
Oh,
Jimmy.
hello.
So good old Mick. Okay, this
I know
is
Mick very
interesting.
well.
Yeah, he's a good guy, is our Mick. Right. His Angus says it looks really flat. We're talking about the camera. The OM-5 has less of a grip than the OM-1, but that extra bit does help carrying it. How does the OM-3 feel like walking around? Well, I mean, it's that thing, Jim, isn't it? When I think because I've been using an OM-1 Mark II for like 3-4 years, and the OM-1 previously, your hand automatically feels like there should be a grip, but of course, because there's quite a bit of space here
Yeah.
where the profile dial is, your hands almost don't need it. It just feels lovely. How did you find the sort of picking up and the feeling of it?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, if someone has been using the OM1 for a while, you know, there will be a little bit of a cultural shock to when you start picking up the OM3. That, you know, because you're so used to a big grip, you know, and holding it on the side. But like you said, you know, it's actually quite nice to hold, and it's quite easy to hold once you pick it up. It only takes you a few seconds, and you start to realize, oh, okay, it actually feels all right. Especially the thumb grip at the back is actually quite prominent. So like your
Yes,
thumb actually rested quite well at the back here, so it makes it quite easy to hold. And also my fingers tend to actually kind of rest it on the creative dial naturally, so that kind of create a little bit of a kind of holding spot for me as well. And mind you, you know, like when I'm walking around, I'm not the type of photographer who basically hold the cameras in my hand continuously. I just like to hang around my neck. So only
same.
when I starting to see or anticipating something to happen, then I will pick up the camera and wait for the moment to happen.
Yeah.
So for that, I mean, I actually have absolutely no problem at all.
Yeah, I agree. A lovely little comment from Mike O'Neill. Jimmy is the man. Do you like that, Jimmy? That's pretty cool.
Oh
Your
yes, yes,
your
yes.
fan base is in tonight. I love that. Absolutely love that. So let's take a quick question from Tim. Tim asks, Jimmy, what is your favourite feature of the OM3 so far?
Oh, okay. I
There's
have
so
two.
much.
Can I have two features then? Well, the first obviously the creative dial, and then I mean I love that. I mean, like you see already. I mean, I love taking black and white photos, and because of this, now it gives me the opportunity to create multiple versions of the black and white that I like to see, and just basically snap it that way. And the second thing I like is at the back, the new CP button at the back,
So good.
and that's brilliant. And that's brilliant. You know, for those who don't know or not familiar with the Olympus or OM system cameras, that we are very uh, renowned for the computational features. You know, like the live composite, the live bulb, the handheld high res. And lately, you know, we have the live ND and the live grad NDs. I use a lot of the grad ND and the live ND for creative
Me too.
purposes. And previously, you know, it was kind of a little bit hidden in the menu, or you have to kind of customize a certain button to activate it. But now with the CP button, it's so easy. You know, it's just like a second job for you to engage it, adjust it, shoot it, and turn it off. You know, all happening in a few seconds. So
Yeah.
it's really, really handy to have that feature there.
Yeah, because I think when you have to dive into menus, you do tend to take the camera away from your face and then look down into the menus, don't you? Whereas when you're holding up to your eye, you can activate that CP button without taking the camera away. So you can never miss a shot, right? And I think that again is quite nice. It's
Yeah,
just learning where those things are whilst the camera is here, rather
yeah.
than going menu, da 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 da, and that almost sort of detracts away from what you're trying to do with the street. You want to be there, you want to adapt really quickly.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's so handy and so quick to use, and very intuitive as well. So it's actually really, really good.
Okay, let's take I'm going to take those questions off because I'll ask them again. Let's have a look at your next image. Okay, Shibuya. Their train stations are crazy. The
What?
trains are amazing out in Japan,
Oh
aren't
my
they?
God, the trains are absolutely fantastic. Yes, and so
Unbelievable.
another in between shots, you know, basically just highlighting where I was heading, you know, and it's in one of those kind of in between storytellings, you know, it's a little bit details on the train, directions, positions, and also, you know, a location, not position, where I was.
Love it. I love it. I shall go to, apologies if I'm looking down, so I'm just keeping an eye on the questions and everything else at the same time. Let's go for it. Talk us through this one.
Okay, I think this is when I landed in a different place now, and after the train journey, and this is on the way to what was I doing that day? I can't quite remember exactly, and I think I was heading to an ear place. Believe it or not,
Okay.
they had my ear cleaned by a Japanese.
In Japan, that's a long way to go for an ear clean, Jimmy.
Yes, yes. I heard it's an experience thing, so I booked myself in to check it out. So this is
Oh,
kind of
okay.
yeah. So this is kind of like on the way there, and so I came across this zebra crossing, and I just find it quite interesting that the people, just standing there with the umbrella up. Mind you, this was the only day that was raining while I was there, and this is the only shot with people with umbrella. So I actually quite like it because it shows the part of the Japanese cultures, and in a way because they like things quite orderly. They don't like to jaywalk. They don't like to jump the lights or anything like that. So when it's red light, everybody just stay patiently. I even had some shots in the stations, in the train station, where people queuing up like in the lines, and or, no matter how busy they are, they just lined up like one by one. There's no jumping, anything like that.
Yeah, I love that. It's very organized, isn't it? There, when you queue for a train, you are just there. Everyone's going to get on. There's no pushing. You can try to get on the train here in London in the early morning, and it's a lot of shoving and pushing and
Oh yes,
squeezing. But I
it's
do,
like
I
a
do
World
love
War
this.
Three here.
We have a color image.
Yes,
Walk us
yes.
through this one.
This is the vending machines, and well, they have a ton. So I shot quite a few vending machines whenever I see them. It's just part of the collections, and that I'm trying to, remember. It's just part of the culture as well. They have vending machine for everything, not just for
Yeah.
drinks, but for food, for sandwich, for dinner, for
Yeah.
literally everything. I'm surprised they don't have vending machine for cars.
Probably it's that automation, but it's enabling a 24-hour service to a certain extent, isn't it? This
Yeah, yeah.
style. My daughter goes to Japan every year, and she speaks a little bit of Japanese, and she is mesmerized by the culture. It's just, if you've never been, guys, and if it's on your hit list, it will not disappoint for sure. I mean, they've got a lot of snow at the moment, haven't they? So maybe not now, but actually, it's a country that completely mesmerizes you, and a perfect place for street photography. I love this image.
Yes, this is actually not far from my hotel, and I went out. You see a lot of kind of low light photography in this trip, and because I was jet lagged, I didn't know what to do, so I was just starting to walk around at night. And so this is actually one of the side street not far from the hotel. And when I saw the lines on the road, and then I spotted this gentleman in the distance slowly walking up, and there's a car coming towards me. So I thought, okay, maybe I do a little bit of slow shutter. So this is not even a live grad ND shot, or live ND shot. Just a simple, I don't know, I think it's probably 1/15 of a second shot. So it's
Right.
quite slow. But the strong IBIS that we have on our camera just enable me to do a handheld shot like this without having to encounter any penalties when it comes to camera shakes, or even pushing the high ISO up. This is only like an ISO 400, I believe, and so
Right.
it's actually relatively low ISO shot. So
Okay.
it's brilliant.
I love it. Absolutely love it. We're going to keep going with some images, because I know everybody wants to see images. And while I look through some more questions, what is this?
I have no idea, and I was just on the way back from the fish market, and like it just right in front of me, and then I thought, oh, that looks interesting, and then I might as well just document it. But it's quite a good contrast between modern and old. But
Yeah.
obviously, Japan also has a very strong culture in the manga, and also the anime series. So this I can tell is inspired from this cartoon anime, Japanese cartoon creations there. So like it's quite an interesting contrast. You can see the back there is very modern. It's like a normal modern building, and suddenly you got this really weird looking structure with a clock in the
Right.
middle, and just really interesting.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, we're going to go to a couple of questions. David asks, will this work with OI Share? Yes, it does, David, as we can only connect one camera at a time. Well, that's down to not just the cameras, that's also down to the phone systems. To be able to connect to two Wi-Fis at the same time, no phone can do that. So it isn't just about our end, it's about the phone end as well. I'm sure that technology, if it's possible, people that we would be looking at it for sure. But yeah, at this instance, it's more that phone side when you can only connect with one Wi-Fi, which is why when you connect, your home Wi-Fi drops out and your connection with the camera joins. So I hope that answers your question. Chris, hello, Chris. Lovely to see you. Does the OM-3 do multiple exposures? Yes, it does. It does multiple exposures. Do you do any multiple exposure photography, Jimmy?
Something that I'm learning, and
Yeah.
is my friend Ray, who was with me in this trip, and he's a multiple exposure expert,
Oh, interesting.
and he does it with film cameras, so that's even more
Okay.
challenging. And yeah, I'm at the moment I'm learning from him because he just does a lot of this multiple exposure stuff.
Oh, interesting. I mean, and the thing about multiple exposures, people assume you can only take two images, but we have a thing in there called overlay, which means, and I know people are probably sick of me talking about this, but it's really important. If you have any raw image on your card, you can bring that raw image back and then shoot multiple exposures on the top. So the thing to do is create a card which has lots of amazing raw images, landscapes, seascapes, and then you can bring them into the city, bring them back, and then put cityscapes on top. Really great fun. We will be doing some workshops and some lives specifically about multiple exposure as we go down the line. Also, if you want to follow Jimmy, there's lots of ways you can get in touch with Jimmy. Okay, you've got his normal Instagram and Facebook, which is Jimmy Cheng Photography. If you're looking for street portraits on Instagram, it's at jim.mycheng. And then, of course, if you like to see our Jimmy in action, reviewing all sorts of weird, wonderful, and gorgeous products, not just OM System, everything, you can also catch him on his YouTube channel at Red35. So lots of ways you can view, lots of ways you can plug in, lots of ways you can see him. So this is a really good one for you, Jimmy. Let me turn that banner off before I forget. There you go. Graham says, hi, Jimmy. Are you going to do any street photography workshops?
Yes, and in fact, I used to do that, but I kind of stopped around about COVID time, and
Right.
I'm still in the process of getting it back to teaching again. But lucky you mentioned that, I will be doing some photography walkabout at the photography show, which is next month.
Yes. Oh, so I've put that in the comments. If it's going to load, why will it not load? It will load. There you go. Basically, the photography show, if you're based in the UK, Ireland, or Scotland, or Wales, or even sort of on the continent here in Europe, we have lots of European visitors now. It's the biggest show in Europe, and it's now this year. It's in London at the Excel Centre in March. We are going to be doing some lovely little mini photo walks from the stand. And Jimmy is one of the guys that's going to head off. Claire and I are all doing them. So it's going to be quite fun. You will get the chance to actually have hands-on for an hour or so with the OM-3. I have put the link in the comments. So if you want to book on, they won't last long. The groups are only very small. But again, that's your opportunity to come down to the photography show at the Excel Centre in London. Come and say hello. We always like that. But also get your chance to get on one of the walks with one of the team. So I'm hoping that is done. Okay, let me just go back to where I was because I always lose myself. So yes, I think it is that thing, isn't it, Jimmy, where street walks were after COVID had sort of been out of the way, but we can definitely agree that it's going to be really exciting to come back and start them again. A little discussion from Paul. Paul asks, does this model represent a move back towards street photography from a heavy emphasis on bird and landscape? Well, absolutely. OM system, you know, the kits, when you think about OM1s and 150 to 400s, they are perfect for birds in flight, for wildlife, small, light, weather sealed, perfect for the wildlife or bird photographer. So the OM-3 is an expansion. It's an addition to the OM-1 Mark II, still massively our flagship. You know, we still are promoting that product and doing lots of wildlife things, lots of events planned. But so it's definitely not a diversion. It's more an addition to. And you've also used the 100 to 400. Let's talk about that new lens while we can. The 100
Yeah.
to 400, Jimmy, did you put it on an OM1 Mark II or did you put it on an OM3?
I put it on the OM-3. Might as well try it with the
Nice.
new, try it on the new camera, and yeah, it works fantastically well. And I think one of the main standout feature of the Mark II lens is now compatible with the Sync IS, so that gives you know a much more stabilized projections when you're taking photographs, and but also at the same time it gives you a much better video capabilities, because now is
Right.
the footage is well, you know, much more stabilized compared to the Mark I lens.
Yeah, that's what Espen, I was talking, funny enough, Andy was asking about that. I was talking to Espen about that, and he says if you run a YouTube channel, which I don't, 100 to 400, actually pulling in that the things from a distance with the stabilization was perfect for video. And he said that was a huge plus for the Sync IS with the 100 to 400.
Yes, absolutely. Because we also had the really fantastic 150 to 600, which is a bigger lens, and then that one has the Sync IS features. When I did a review on that lens, I actually specifically mentioned that the 100 to 400 didn't have it, but now the Mark II has it, so
Right.
it brings it more closer when it comes to videoing using the big long tele lenses.
Right, for sure. Okay, let's go to, oh, wow, it looks so vast when you look at it like that. Talk
Oh yes, this
us
was
through this
taken
image.
at the Metropolitan Building, which is free to go up, which is very good. This one you probably can't really tell. This is actually handheld high res and shot. So this would be, if I remember correctly, 50 megapixel photograph.
Right, right.
So you can actually zoom all the way into the individual little buildings in there.
I absolutely love it. I really, really love it. Let's have another look. As I said, I always love to look at images. Perfect. Talk us through this
Yeah.
one.
This one doesn't stand out to me. I mean, it looks like to me is like a copy of the Empire State Building from the States, and the shape and the form of it. And I think I also took the same picture from a different angle last time when I went to Japan, and so this is a different angle, which kind of quite a nice composition in a way that it has different layers of buildings that kind of contribute to the whole composition, but the actual building itself is different color to the rest, and that it really stood out, not only the shape but also the color.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting. So Mick asks, is that the 17mm 1.8 you're using, or is that the 17mm 1.2?
1.8.
Yeah, because it's
This for
nice and
this film,
small.
yes.
I mean, I love the 1.2, but for sure the 17-1.8 just it's almost like sort of fits in your pocket, doesn't it? It's sort of nice and neat and tidy, and I like that. It's quite fun, isn't it?
It is small, and I do like the lens. It's just tiny, and you
Yeah.
know, you can hold it with two fingers. It's just really, really small.
Yeah, exactly. Right, I'm just going through some questions. Apologies, because obviously we like to chat. So I'm going to put another image up. There you go. If you want to talk through this one for me.
Ah, right. We earlier remember that I actually said that I love to use a lot of the computational features and the cameras. And this one I did use the live grad ND, which is really handy. I put it really subtle, only ND2, so very soft, and also very subtle ND effect that kind of darken the sky just enough to review the cloud details in the distance, without destroying you know, the skyline. So I love using that the live grad ND in all sorts of photographs similar to this, which I did exactly the same thing last year when the sunset on top of the Shibuya Sky building for the sunset. So this time it's not a sunset; it's just midday. But it was quite strong. So if I don't use the light grade ND, and the sky will be completely blown off, almost white. But now, because of the light grade ND feature that we have, we can really bring down the sky exposure just enough to show the details.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, live ND is one of my favorite things and live GND, because you can literally use them in so many circumstances. And I know anybody who's watching that's watched before, in the UK, we do have those really flat skies, don't we? Those very grey, dull skies. And you're trying to shoot and expose for foreground, it tends to be that the sky can be overblown. So having ND just to bring in a bit of depth, bring in a little bit of more detail. I absolutely love it. Okay, right. Couple of things. Tim says, I love the 20mm f1.4. We love that lens as well, don't we?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I love that as well. Yeah, that's also another small lens, but this time with a really fast 1.4 aperture, which is fantastic for some street portraits if you're into that.
Yeah, I do love this. And this is a good question for you from Andrew Adams. He says, do you lean towards a certain genre when doing street photography? He says he leans towards light and shadow with people intersecting the scene. Or are you just more of a go out, see what gets the mind? Or what is your approach to it, Jimmy?
Right. Okay. And I could actually run a workshop just based on this.
I bet.
It's a very complicated thing. For me, I think it works for any photographer. Is whatever catch your eyes. I don't think there is a specific thing that kind of restrict myself when it comes to genre in street photography. Yes, there are certain things that definitely that I see more often. Maybe that just me how I see things, like the strong highlights and strong shadow, and also coupled with a couple of people in the shots. This sort of thing that tends to catch my attention when it comes to just basically walking around. But at the same time, I also like a lot of the actions happening on the street. So whether it's going to be some moment shots when people are running for the bus, in the rain, that kind of thing. But those are happening randomly and spontaneously, and not something you can plan for. While the lights and shadow stuff, you can tend to just basically manipulate it with time. So you have to head at the right time, the right weather. You tend to get that. So it's just a very different approach when it comes to taking that kind of photography.
Right, okay. Apologies, guys. I've just put the wrong links in the chat. Right the way throughout the show, we are linking out to the pages for the OM-3, the 100 to 400, the brand new Mark II version, the 17 and the 25. And I've just posted 3 times about the photography show. So apologies for that. I will delete them later. But when you're in the thick of it and there's lots of messages coming in, it happens. Thanks, Jimmy. I love that. As I said, you could do a whole workshop just on street photography and how you approach it, right? I love the curves. I love the leading lines. And I love the fact that they're curved in this image.
Yes. And this is exactly what caught my eyes, is the curve and the line kind of intersect each other. It just kind of created lovely compositions there. And also because of you can kind of see that there's a symmetry there going between top and bottom. And in hindsight, now I can see that I'm just a little bit off when it comes to rotation. But there you go. That's a JPEG image. I could correct it in post, but nope. All of these are unedited images that you see.
Yeah, and interesting, because I'm just going to pull up this comment from Dave, which we just literally talking about that. Yes, you can do stuff in post, but the idea with creativity is creating as you're there and as you're shooting and sort of as you see it. Of course you can do it in post, but I just prefer to do it before. How about you, Jimmy? Yeah, you're right, you can do a bit of post, but again, is it nice to get that vision and feel for it before?
Right. Maybe I'm a little bit old school, but I'm or simply that I'm very bad with photoshopping. And so I tend to do 95 to 98% in camera. So I like to get my composition right. I like to get my execution, the timing right. I like to get my exposure correct. And rather than relying on post-production corrections and adjustments, that's how I learned my photography since film days. Because in
Right.
film we got much less latitude when it comes to edits afterward. Yeah, I can do a little bit of budget dodge and burn string development, but there's so much you can push the film, especially in color. And so I learned to do most of the stuff that I need to do in camera before my final presentation. So the creative diet gives me that kind of memory again, because I'm shooting it in JPEG in a way that's almost like the final image that I'm going to get from it. Yeah, you can still do a little bit of it if you really want to. And but I could just simply use the JPEG that I created, especially in black and white from the OM-3. I found it more than sufficient to just keep it as it. And but if I really want to squeeze out every single details and things like that, then I may go back to the raw and create something better for let's say exhibitions and things like that. So that is
Right.
something that I could potentially do as well.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to our little street walks. It's getting me very excited. Obviously we've been using the cameras all cloaked and guarded for the last little while, but it's very exciting to I sort of worked many years in London, and now I sort of live out of London. Like, and now I'm really itching to go back into town and spend a day just wandering and finding those little nuggets of gorgeousness. So I cannot wait for us to head out and do some photo walks, which I'm really excited about. Okay, I love this. Deborah says, I'm sold. Presently still using my OM-1 Mark II. Time to upgrade, but wanted certain aspects. This has it all. Thank you, OM. And thank you, Deborah. As I said, I think it's lovely to see you. Does the OM-3 have Pro Capture? Yes. I mean, it's 99%. Oh, I don't know the percentages. I shouldn't say that. It's nearly an OM-1 Mark II. As I said, it's literally a few differences, but it certainly does have Pro Capture. And again, if you're doing, let's talk about long lenses on the OM-3. Obviously, the OM-1 Mark II, if you're carrying a 150 to 600 for long periods of time, the two can be used, but they're not like the perfect fit. But we've got some incredible small lenses like the 40 to 150 f4. I mean, that's literally this lens. It's tiny, isn't it? The 40 to 150 2.8 with a converter, that's giving you 600 mil. This big. So although you wouldn't assume you could use a long lens on it, and I probably wouldn't use a 150 to 600 on it, it's that's a little bit of balance equilibrium out there. But actually we do lots of with the 75-300, for instance. That's a lovely little telephoto. So you've got those options in there, Jimmy, haven't you, to sort of tuck one in your pocket or in your camera bag when you head out. And if you do see something, I don't know, an osprey.
Well, most of the time when I was in Japan, I just hang the OM-3 around my neck with the 17 on it, and then it was a very straightforward one lens cameras, and just walking around the street and capturing moments.
Yeah. Okay, another question from Graham, and then we'll look at a couple of more images. It's 50 minutes in, this hour has flown by. Graham asks, does it have face detection autofocus, and can you easily change the face it focuses on? Yes, it does. We've given it human detection in the AI area, so you can turn on AI subject detection, and that goes right the way through from cats and dogs and planes and trains and automobiles, and then you've also got face detection as well. So do you use face detection, Jimmy?
I do, yes. And it's quite a handy thing to have if you shoot portrait, which I do shoot a lot. And probably I don't know we'll have time to go through the images. There are a couple of street portraits that I did, so I did use the face detection on. Yes.
Right. Okay. Right. I think we should take a few more images. There you go. Now this is great. Is this sort of early evening?
Yeah, it's kind of like a golden hours in a way, and blue hours, whatever you call it, and
Yeah,
sun kind of you can still see the sky. So yeah,
yes,
it's certain in between hours,
love
and I
it.
love the lights.
And again, still with the 17.
Still with the 17, yeah, they didn't change
Gone
it, and
17 all the way. I
yeah.
love it. I can't wait to get back to Shinjuku. Ah, wow. What is that? A dinosaur or something giant lizard coming out of the building?
That's the Godzilla. That's the Godzilla.
Godzilla, of course.
Yeah. Yes, there's famous Godzilla in Shinjuku, and so once again, everybody takes photos of it, and I just take one as a memory.
Ah, yes, absolutely. And that sometimes is what street is all about. That documentation. You're never
Mm.
always going to get. I find with street, I don't know. I know you guys out there are much better at photography than I am. I always find it takes me a bit of while to warm up when I do street photography. Like my first shot is the worst shot, but then you warm up into it. Do you sort of find that, Jimmy, or do you just go for it straight away?
What was the question? Sorry.
The question was about sort of when I go out, it takes me a little while to warm up. Like I have to get in the zone when I think
Uh,
about street, or are you straight in there? You see a thing and
I'm straight in, and
oh, I need that. I need that in my life.
yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I think to me, like, I know sometimes I may not take the best photos, but if I don't start shooting it, and then I'll get rusty. So like, I
Yeah.
just as soon as I get out, I start shooting.
Yeah, yeah, and then like you say, it starts warming up. I said my first few images are always a little bit rubbish, and then you start getting into the zone. And again, I'm so looking forward to that. Oh, let me just click that screen. Oh, this is
Oh
lovely.
yes,
I love
I
the
love
flare.
this. Yeah.
Beautiful bit of flare.
Yes, this is early morning, and when the street is still relatively empty. So I was blessed with the sun. So I saw this sun kind of peeping behind the tall risers there, and also a zebra crossing. Perfect kind of composition with lots of textures going. And all I was waiting was the person walking across the zebra crossing, and there was one. So I just snapped it.
It's like, yes, there they are, ready to
Oh
go.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You see another one too. There you go.
A zebra crossing is a good start for street, isn't it? Because again, you've got a bit of shadow, but you've got that lovely contrast of the black and white on the floor there.
Absolutely. Earlier I said that I love the profile that I created for this black and white look, which is very deep black, a high contrast look. So which is kind of works very well with this type of shot.
Right, right. Yeah, love it. We're going to fly through a couple of more images. Oh, this is nice. This is
Aha.
lovely. Tell me about this
Yes.
one. Mm,
This is I think this was the station at the Nakano and another quirky areas that we went there to photograph. And this is actually on the platform. So I thought, okay, well, we got some amazing, live ND features. Might as well try to make use of it. So this one, and the lady was standing very still, and the train was running past. So I thought, okay, if I blur the whole train out, and that was look quite interesting. So that's what I did. Live ND, I think it was ND32, wasn't very strong because the train moving quite fast anyway. So and I snapped it, and it was actually very good.
yeah, wonderful. We've got some lovely comments and some lovely love out there. Obviously, as always, if you like the stream, please give us a like and please subscribe to our channel. We all think you're wonderful for joining us, so thank you for that. Let's take a couple of more images. Oh, this is nice. I'll take a look at some questions whilst you talk us through this one, Jimmy.
Okay, well, this is actually the same platform, but a very opposite of what I did. So this time I use a fast shutter, but also a shallow depth of field this time, and so still the 17-1.8, wide open 1.8, and well, not actually exactly that fast. Actually, I think it'll be 160 per second. So like that means that people are still a little bit motion blurred out, a little bit just highlighting the motions there. But while the train is now stationary instead of moving, so the
Yes.
opposite to the earlier shot.
Yes, I have a project, boringly, well, not boringly, but whenever I go to Stockholm, I go underneath because there are hundreds of stations that are painted like art installations. And you're absolutely right. I've done the opposite quite a few times. Train in focus. Oh, sorry. Train out of focus, people in focus. This is a really nice swap around.
Yes, yeah, like there's something about photography, like you may see something, then you tried it out, and then quite often you'll find it very interestingly, you just do exactly the opposite, will give you a completely different look and image.
Wonderful. I've got this message up from Ted. There are car vending machines in Japan.
Oh, I wonder what can you buy
Thank
from there?
God. And Colleen says, love, love, love Japan, especially Kyoto Gardens. Great place to try out a new camera for sure. And Wayne says, I pre-ordered on Naught, looking forward to exploring with this camera. Lots and lots of lovely questions, lots and lots of lovely comments coming in for you, Jimmy.
Very
Lots
good.
of people loving your photos. And Dan says, good to see OM System introducing new products. Yes, I mean, we are here to stay. Lots more to come. You have to stay tuned in. We've got it's a very exciting time to be an OM System user. Okay, quick question from Mike. When you shoot film, what film do you prefer, and how does that relate to your choices on the OM-3?
Right. Good question. Because I have a lot of film stock that I really liked before, but as you know, the film production has completely diminished over the years,
Right.
and now you are literally stuck with only a few choices nowadays. And so what I tend to do is without saying a specific film stock, and I just like to recreate using the creative dial there to create some of the looks that I kind of remember. And it's not going to be exactly the same, as how it was, because film is a very different animals altogether. It's how chemical reacting to lights, for instance. It's not a digital thing. It's not 1 and 0. So films are very, very different thing. But maybe give you a short answer. What film that my favorite film will be the Triax and also the Ilford HP5, kind of two of my favorite stocks. The color would be either Portra or Fujifilm Vila. I think those are my favorite film stocks.
Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of them. Okay, we're going to have a couple of more images, and we have spent an hour chatting, Jimmy. We could spend
Even
ages
now already.
I know. Flows by when you're having fun.
Right. This is an interesting image, and my initial intention is to try to capture the train driver at the back. And somehow this gentleman was walking past, saw me holding the camera, and looked straight into the camera when I snapped it. So I thought, okay, that looks kind of interesting. And so I kept this image.
Love it. Absolutely love it. We're talking, there's some sort of questions going on about the 17 and the 25. And Tim has quite rightly said that they now have metal bodies. They are IPX1 weather sealed, which means it gives you confidence when you're going out. And also that lines up with the rest of the products, that we've already got out there. And they both have lens hoods in the box, which look amazing because it all looks very retro. And yeah, Joe, well done, Tim. I love that. You're very good. Okay, one more final image.
Mini Pro lenses.
Yes. Oh, yes. Well, do you know, it's really interesting because when I go through some of the comments, and I know you guys, apologies that we can't get through to them. There's some questions saying, when are we going to be able to have high res with focus stacking and these combination of those computational features? If they were readily available, if the technology was there, let me tell you, we would be looking at it. So for sure, it's about processing power. It's about time. If these things can be done and they take 30 seconds, then that's just never going to be brought to market. So it's about making sure that the technologies are achievable within a certain cost, right? Also about time that you wait for these things to happen. So if you're standing around and your camera's going to take 20 seconds to process it, probably not something that's quite realistic. But we are taking in, these channels are monitored, all these things, if they're possible. I'm sure, we will be looking at it for sure. Okay. David says, please come to Scotland and show me the OM-3. I'll be up at Wex at some point, so please make sure. This is really good. Ethan has said, watch the video by Mark McGee Photos, who reviews it. He is a reviewer. He's not an ambassador. Have a look. Great. He loves it too.
Yeah, it's a great
Okay.
video.
Oh, I love it. And he reviews everything, so it's important. Okay, we're going to do one more image and then we're going to sign off. And we're going to do somebody. Are they feeding the pigeons?
Yes, it's actually someone's feeding the pigeons, and I thought it just kind of caught my eyes. It's not just about the pigeons and the person there, but also the lines going crisscrossings around the entire scenes. You got like the bridges on the top, and it's also got the curb lines at the bottom, and you also got the markings on the road. It just excuse me, and there's just a lot happening here, but somehow, to me, the image is quite balanced because of the persons and the pigeons, and also a couple of them were flying in motion. So yeah, it just kind of works for me.
Wonderful. Jimmy, our hour is up. I mean, it's flown by. I always love to spend time chatting with you. And I'm going to get to see a lot more of you because, we'll be coming out of our working from home offices and heading to the photography show, heading to do some workshops, some street photography. Yay! So, we have this initial first few weeks of launch and it's all a bit crazy while everybody does their lives. We are going to be having some Zooms. If you buy an OM-3 and you're new to the camera, you can come and join the Zooms and get a little bit more information. Try it out for yourself, come along, get on one of those photo walks that we will be advertising from the 1st of April, I think. Just keep your eye on the events page. And that allows you to come along and try it for yourself. Obviously, at the moment, you've heard a lot of OM system ambassadors talking about it, a lot of other people. But if you want to try it yourself, come along and try it for yourself. It's going to be brilliant. Jimmy, we crammed a lot in. We've spoken about the 17, the 100 to 400. Maybe we haven't spoken about the new 25 as much. We'll do that.
I know we forgot about it for so.
We could never forget about that gorgeous little thing. Thank you, Jimmy, for joining me. I am really pleased that you're able to take the time to come and talk to us all. And I look forward to seeing you in a few weeks at the photography show. Give a big thank you to Jimmy out there. And as I said, follow his channels, give us a lot of love, and then hopefully we will see you again very soon. But for now, it's goodbye from Jimmy and it's goodbye from me.
Bye.